The Fantastic Four, First Steps, not to be confused with Fantastic Four, The First Steps, which is what I've been calling it all this time. We gotta make sure we're talking about the right movie because we don't want people to be confused. Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic. Thank you guys so much for being with me today. I really do appreciate it. I was able to see the new Fantastic Four movie last night. I'm here to give you my honest thoughts so that you guys can decide whether or not the movie is right for you. But if you have seen the movie already, let me know what you thought down in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. I guess I should start off with my history of Fantastic Four fandom, I guess. I've never read any of the comic books. I'm not a big comic book guy in terms of actually, reading them. So I'm not gonna be one of those guys who are like, oh, it's not comic book accurate. I really don't care about that stuff. I've never seen the 90s version. I've never seen the 2005 version, but I've actually seen Rise of the Silver Surfer quite a few times. I guess as a family growing up, we got it in like a bargain bin and my parents just wanted to put something on in the background so that my sister and I would shut up in long car rides because we had one of those Dodge Caravans with the DVD player. And I never saw the 2015 version. I just didn't care. So I'm not a big Fantastic Four guy, but I was excited for this movie because of the production design and the art direction. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. They're going back to the 1960s. This is something that I've been saying that the James Bond franchise should do, because now with modern technology, you can make the pulpy type of futuristic 60s look fresh and new again. And I guess I should just say that right now. This movie looks phenomenal. So lots of good eye candy. But seeing the trailer, I'm like, this movie looks different. This movie looks polished and clean and fresh and new and energetic and exciting. Unlike the Thunderbolts that looked just dour and ugly. Turns out that movie was actually pretty great, just for some context, I guess, with the Marvel movies lately. But what did I think of the actual movie, The Fantastic Four First Steps? Ironically enough, this movie, I would say anyways, is not very fantastic. In fact, I wouldn't even call it spectacular or brilliant or great. It's good though. And a little bit of a side tangent here. I can't stand this conversation and I just don't want to entertain it anymore, but I'll say it here. Just because a movie's not fantastic doesn't mean it sucks, right? A movie can be good. A movie can have some problems, right? I got into the same argument with Superman, right? I like Superman. No review on the channel. I was busy. I was on vacation when I saw it. Whatever. I like Superman just fine. Not great, not terrible, but good. You hate the movie? What did I just say? Right? So for people who are gonna say, oh, Brandon hates the Fantastic Four, that's not it at all. I didn't love it. Now, my friend who I went to go see the movie with, you know who you are, they loved it, right? They were like clapping and they were getting really into it and they said this movie was special. Luckily for people out there, this movie is special to them. So if you think that this movie is gonna be right up your alley, you could have a masterpiece on your hands. I wish I could say that about this movie, of course I do. But for me, I would say my only problem with this movie is that there's nothing extremely stand out about it other than the shiny packaging. The production design looks great. The art direction of the 60s and all the newsreels, it feels very 1960s Disneyland, World of Progress, The Incredibles, now the Fantastic Four, and it doesn't feel like, what if superheroes were real? You know what I mean? Of course, The Dark Knight really ushered in that era of superheroes, and Marvel brought it back to more fun, a lot of humor in there with the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. What I find a bit jarring though is that, of course, you have this fun packaging of the Fantastic Four. We're gonna save the day and we're going to protect you. And yeah, everyone's clapping and cheering and everything. It's not this whole moral gray area like X-Men where they're like, oh, people hate them. And that's kind of like Spider-Man's thing as well. It's like, ah, hooray, superheroes. But yet the story itself took itself quite seriously. And I don't know if this is just me wanting a different movie, which again, I guess is kind of unfair, but I felt like it clashed a little bit where you have the fun, exciting packaging and yet the story is pretty serious. It wasn't as tongue-in-cheek as you'd expect, or what I think would actually fit better. In my mind, of course. Again, people love this movie, so this is just my own personal, honest thoughts. But let's get into the casting, because I think that's a major part of any superhero movie, and I think that's the Marvel formula for a lot of movies. It's a great hero cast with a subpar villain, but a lot of humor and a serviceable story. That is Iron Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, like that is the Marvel formula in a nutshell, and I would say that that's the same thing here. The main cast is good. Not great, but good. Pedro Pascal, he's in everything, right? The Last of Us, Star Wars, he's in everything. Even more superhero stuff with Wonder Woman 1984. Well, that movie's been, 5 years old now? And it didn't do too well, so, we can move past that. But he was good in the movie. I wish that we saw the Fantastic Four in action more. There's a lot of montages, there's a lot of newsreels to kind of get the backstory out of the way, which was interesting, and I liked it, but I wish that I was able to see more of the Fantastic Four working together, solving problems, using their powers. You only get to see that really twice in the movie. When you do see it, it's fantastic. right? That it fits the name, right? But I wish that we were able to see it more. Now, the reason why I bring that up with Pedro Pascal is because, of course, Reed Richards is supposed to be this really smart, intellectual, almost kind of a tortured guy. Kind of like a Tony Stark, I would say, at least. He's not so narcissistic, but he's always thinking about different problems. He's always thinking about solutions, and he's always very mathematical. And there's a great scene between him and Vanessa Kirby, his wife, Sue Storm, how it's a curse in a way to always be thinking about the worst possible scenario so that he can stop the worst possible scenario. There's a great scene when, you know, of course, minor spoiler, I guess, but you can even see it in the trailer, that she's pregnant. So they're going to become a real big family. And family is a real big message of the movie, that he's putting on safety locks on everything. And he is just trying to make the world an extremely safe place for his child. But of course, in order to do that, he has to think about the worst possible scenario. And that, of course, brings some turmoil into the marriage. So I thought that was all great. Vanessa Kirby, though, was amazing. I think she's probably the best actor out of the four, and probably out of the entire cast, right? She is the most Oscar-worthy type of aura around her, I guess, is the best way to say it, if you know what I'm putting down, right? But my favorite was Joseph Quinn. I thought Johnny Storm was the best character in the movie, and probably my favorite, and the one that I would relate to the most. He wasn't so much of a hothead, right? Of course, being guy turns into fire, but I feel like he's a guy who's misunderstood. He might be a bit more brash and has a bigger personality than Reed Richards, but he doesn't get the credit that he thinks that he deserves for his smarts and the amount that he cares. He also has the best lines too. He's the funniest character. And the thing about the humor too is that there are a couple moments where I chuckled, but it wasn't like Guardians of the Galaxy in your face type of humor. So it felt more natural, but I would say that the movie wasn't as funny as I thought it would be. In fact, there were actually quite a few jokes that the theater did not laugh at that I did, and vice versa. There were jokes that the whole theater laughed and I just, you know, kind of chuckled or smiled, and I'm like, okay, well, that's supposed to be funny. So again, there's humor for everybody. That's what that tells me anyways. And Ebon Moss-Bachrach, if I said that properly, he plays the Thing, and he's a good Thing. They don't necessarily go into the whole struggle of him turning into this rock monster. There's a little, like, couple hints about that, but they don't really dive into that. And of course, with the Silver Surfer too, they dive a little bit into her backstory, but I just wouldn't say that it was enough for me to really get emotionally invested. And I think that's the thing, is that nothing feels just super heavy in the fact that I was getting emotional. But again, people in the theater were crying at certain scenes, they were clapping at certain scenes. Again, this is just a personal thing, right? These are my honest thoughts. And lastly, Galactus. Galactus is this big conqueror of worlds, and he's intimidating for sure because of his size, but I don't know that much about him. I don't know. I didn't find him the most compelling villain. Again, he worked for the movie because he's this big monster, and I think villains, they have certain qualities that make them great, and one of them is how in the world are our heroes going to defeat them? If you have to think about that, then they're doing something right. That's why I always have a hot take with the first Avengers movie. I know that the Avengers can defeat Loki. I know they can, because Thor did in the last movie, right? But now you have all these characters, yada, 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 whatever. And honestly, guys, that's all I have to really say about the movie. Everything was good in it. Nothing was terrible. Absolutely nothing. I can't look at one thing and go, like, that was bad. I can't believe they put that in the movie. They have all the ingredients, but I feel like I've tasted this recipe before, but it's in a new dish. You have the art direction, you have the production design, you have that 1960s flair, which was welcoming. But in terms of the actual meat of the story, there's nothing that spectacular about it, nothing fantastic. I wish I had something more extravagant to say. The themes about family work, it was simple, but it wasn't like in your face stupid, kind of like the Superman movie, where they were like really hammering that message home, like really on the nose, like, hey, don't you get it? This one felt quaint in a way that felt welcoming. And yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a 3 out of 5. So what did you guys think about the Fantastic Four First Steps? Let me know down below. And by the way, that end credit scene, no spoilers, but the whole theater was like, so watch out. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to support the channel, the link to Patreon is down below. We have monthly watch-alongs, which are a great time. And I give you guys movies every single month. So, I mean, you can't say no to that, right? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.